from the CyberHub bunker and studio, you're tuning in to the CyberHub Podcast. And now for your host and CISO, James Azar.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Practitioner Brief here on the CyberHub Podcast. It's Tuesday, June 14th, 2022. We've got a packed show today talking about a Linux malware and unpatched Travis CI API bug, Exchange servers now being taken over for ransomware, China and Google, Russia, and Costa Rica, all in the news for our show this morning. Really excited about it. If you didn't catch yesterday's episode, sorry, audio quality was a little off. I didn't know that. We're listening in, but for some reason, I couldn't get the audio. I know audio is much better today. So with that being said, apologize for yesterday's audio quality. Here we go. Let's get right into today's show. But before we do that, I'd be remiss if we didn't have our traditional morning cup of Joe. I've got my double espresso. Some of y'all could be drinking a Red Bull, a cup of water, a black coffee, Black Rifle, whatever it is that you're drinking. Coffee cup cheers. Now, this story is one that is bound to keep some of us a little wary. Linux malware that's deemed nearly impossible to detect. Symbiote discovered in November a parasitically infects running processes that it could steal credentials, gain rootkit functionality, and install a backdoor, all for remote access. This new Linux malware that's nearly impossible to detect can harvest credentials, give attackers remote access, and rootkit functionality by acting in a parasitic way to infect targets, according to researchers. This has come from the BlackBerry Research and Intelligence team that's been tracking the malware. The earliest detection goes to November of 2021. Joaquin Kennedy, a researcher, wrote on a blog post on the BlackBerry Threat Vector blog that was published last week. Researchers have appropriately dubbed the malware, which apparently was written to target the financial sector in Latin America, symbiote. In biology, the word means an organism that lives in symbiosis with another organism. I haven't had enough coffee. The name is an homage to how the malware operates, which is differently from other Linux malwares that researchers have seen. What makes it unique is that it needs to infect others running processes to inflict damage on infected machines. Instead of being a standalone executable file that is run to infect a machine, it is a shared object library that's loaded into running processes using an LD preload that parasitically infects the machine itself. And the behavior isn't the only thing that makes it unique. It also has highly evasive. It's also highly evasive to such a degree that it's likely to fly under the radar, making it difficult to know if it's even being used by threat actors at all. Once the malware has infected machines, it hides itself in other malware used by the threat actor, making infections very hard to detect. Performing live forensics on an infected machine might not turn anything up, since all the file and processes and networks artifacts are actually hidden by the malware itself. To capture the credentials and get backdoor access to infected machines. A very, very sophisticated Linux malware, something we need to keep our eyes on, looking to see how the industry responds to that one. An unpatched Travis CI API bug exposes thousands of secret user access tokens. The unpatched security issue in the Travis CI API has left tens of thousands of developers' users' tokens exposed to potential attacks, effectively allowing threat actors to breach cloud infrastructure, make unauthorized code changes, and initiate supply chain attack. More than 770 million logs of free tier users are available, from which you can easily extract tokens, secrets, and other credentials associated with popular cloud services like providers like GitHub, AWS, and Docker Hub, according to researchers. Travis CI is a continuous integration service used to build and test software projects hosted on cloud repository platforms like GitHub and Bitbucket. The issue, previously reported in 2015 and 19, is rooted in the fact that API permits access to historical logs in clear text format, enabling a malicious party to even fetch the logs that were previously unavailable via the API. The logs go all the way back to January of 2013 and up until May of this year, ranging from 4 million to 774 million, which are used to retrieve clear text logs through the API. This is unpatched, folks. This is despite Travis CI's attempts to rate limit the API and automatically filter out secure environment variables and tokens from build logs by displaying the string secure in their place. One of the critical insights that while a GitHub token was obfuscated, 20 other variations of this tokens that followed a different naming convention, including GitHub underscore secret, GH dash underscore token, GitHub API key, GitHub secret, weren't masked at all. The findings are particularly significant given the stolen OAuth user token issued to Hercu and Travis CI to escalate access and NPM infrastructure. The supply chain attacks continue, folks. Microsoft notifies that Exchange servers were hacked to deploy the BlackCat ransomware. Microsoft says BlackCat ransomware affiliates are now attacking Microsoft Exchange servers using exploits targeting unpatched vulnerabilities. In at least one incident that the Microsoft security experts observed, the attackers slowly moved through the victim's network, stealing credentials, exfiltrating information to be used for double extortion. 2 weeks after the initial compromise, using an unpatched Exchange server as the entry vector, the threat actor deployed BlackCat ransomware payloads across the network via PSExec. While the common entry vectors for these threat actors include remote desktop applications and compromised credentials, we also saw a threat actor leverage Exchange server vulnerabilities to gain target access. Although it didn't mention the Exchange vulnerability used for initial access, Microsoft links to a security advisory from March of last year with guidance on investigating and mitigating the proxy logon attacks. If you haven't yet patched your Microsoft Exchange, get it done. They're now deploying ransomware. Low-hanging fruit. I read a post yesterday that really resonated with me, and I forgot who it was, and I want to give him credit for it. But they said it just came back from RSA. If you just came back from RSA, that's great. But just remember, for all those shiny tools, still the number one reason why most cybersecurity incidents occur is because we don't do the basics very well. Patching is the basics. You got to get it done before you go out and buy a shiny tool. The same applies here. Chinese hackers are distributing backdoor Web3 wallets for iOS and Android users. A very sophisticated threat actor known as Seaflower has been targeting Android and iOS users as part of an extensive campaign that mimics official cryptocurrency wallet websites, intending to distribute backdoor apps that drain the victim's funds. First to be discovered in March of 2022, the cluster of activity hints to a strong relationship with a Chinese-speaking entity yet to be uncovered. Based on the macOS username, source code comments in the backdoor code, and its abuse of the Alibaba content delivery network. As of today, the main current objective of Seaflower is to modify Web3 wallets with backdoor code that ultimately exfiltrates the seed phase, according to Taha Karim over at Confiant. Targeted apps include Android and iOS versions of Coinbase Wallet, MetaMask, Token Pocket, and IM Token. So all of those. Seaflower's modus operandi involves setting up cloned websites that act as a conduit to download Trojanized versions of the wallet apps that are virtually unchanged from their original counterparts, except for the addition of the new code designed to exfiltrate the seed phase to a remote domain. You can see the remote domains right there at the very top of the screenshot here. The malicious activity is also engineered to target iOS users by means of provisioning profiles that enable the apps to be sideloaded onto the devices. It remains to be seen how we handle these types of domains going forward within environments, right? That's going to be fascinating. That's the next. I think that's kind of like the safe web browsing. Can you identify a malicious website and can you block access to it altogether without killing your firewall? Google terminates coordinated influence operations linked to Russia, China, and Costa Rica. The Google Threat Analysis Group updated a bulletin for the second quarter detailing all coordinated influence operation campaigns terminated on Google's platform over that period. This comes as part of the platform's initiative to prevent the spread of misinformation and disinformation. TAG terminated 138 YouTube channels, 2 ad accounts for campaigns linked to a Russian consulting firm. The campaign praised Russia's aggression in the Ukraine and expressed critical views of the Ukraine and the NATO alliance. 44 YouTube channels and 9 ad accounts were removed for another campaign linked to the Internet Research Agency. The channels were supporting the occupation of Crimea and the Wagner Group activity in the Ukraine and Africa. The campaign was spread in various languages, including Russian, French, Arabic, and Chinese. Another batch of accounts was terminated for being linked to Russia's state-sponsored organizations. 6 YouTube channels were investigated and accused of supporting Russia's actions in the Ukraine and criticizing local opposition figure Alexei Navalny, who's in jail in Russia. So, in turn, TAG also terminated 37 YouTube accounts and 1 ad account and blocked 2 domains from appearing on Google's news surfaces for a campaign linked to Costa Rica. And Costa Rica has been under, since this election, they've been under a huge ransomware campaign. In total, 1,546 YouTube accounts were also terminated with campaigns linked to China. The majority of them spanned content about music and entertainment, while a smaller percentage about China and U.S. foreign policy. The channels operated in Chinese and English as well. Since late February, YouTube removed 9,000 channels and 70,000 videos related to Russia's invasion of the Ukraine, as well as China. So there you go, folks. That's it for our show today. We'll be back with a lot more tomorrow. Until then, have a great rest of your day. And most importantly, stay cyber safe. Cheers.
We love feedback, so make sure to connect with us on social media and subscribe to our podcast on your favorite podcast listening platform.